F1 returns to racing and we're here for the Belgian Grand Prix. But prior to the Belgian Grand Prix, a little bit of discomfort occurred in the McLaren camp, and that was due to their lead driver, Sam, who was spotted at a Mercedes car show only a week before the Belgian Grand Prix. Mercedes and the Formula 1 team were all celebrating the Mercedes brand with new cars being revealed and a closer look at the Mercedes-Benz Formula 1 car, in which Sam was shown to be at that Mercedes car event. He was having conversations with the F1 team, including Tom, Toto and Lewis, and a lot of the team within McLaren were not quite happy that Sam was there. They felt like it was a little bit awkward, and some have got differing opinions about this. When Zach Brown was asked the question with regards to is he concerned after seeing Sam at the Mercedes car event, he wasn't really that concerned, but I wonder if this will cause a response from Sam in the future. We'll have to wait and see, but for now, a little bit of discomfort in the McLaren camp. Taking a look at the race news heading into this weekend, Ferrari have brought a raft of upgrades to their car, which they expect to bring them closer to the front of the field. Whether they can now become the fastest car on the grid is to be seen heading into this weekend, but expect them to be strong, and they were in practice, which caused a little bit of problems for Mercedes and Porsche. However, they are still quicker than the Ferraris in long runs, but the Ferraris have caught them up in the short runs. Now, Jaguar believe that they have got the car good enough to score some points here at Spa-Francorchamps. Things went well for them in practice, actually. They were able to get some decent qualifying runs in and were also good on their tyre wear as they look to battle Audi and Red Bull for those tail end points. Now, despite the fact that Porsche and Mercedes were fastest heading into this weekend, Mercedes are still concerned with straight line speeds. They have not forgotten what happened at the Italian Grand Prix, where they got minced for their straight line speed. And of course, here at Spa, there are a lot of straight lines, which they're taking into consideration when trying to work on a setup in order to help balance the mixture of downforce needed for Sector 2 with straight line speed needed for Sectors 1 and also 3. And finally, Daniel Ricciardo is happy with the balance of his car heading into this weekend. He is in a close championship battle with Stoffel Van Dorn in the Drivers' Championship, and Renault are trying to usurp Audi in the Constructors' Championship, so a good weekend is needed for Daniel Ricciardo. But let's see how they get on. It's time for the Belgian Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here, and welcome back to a brand new video for you guys today here on the channel, and yet another episode of the F1 journey. We are back racing on F1 22. I've made my community posts about, obviously, why the F1 journey has never really carried on for quite some time, and unfortunately it's due to the F1 22 game being useless, but I didn't want to just not finish this series. I absolutely love the F1 journey, and I really wish I could continue it for a lot longer in the future. One thing that I won't be continuing is my flying lap, because as you can see, I actually spun out on my first attempt. Second attempt then, as we go through the same corner here now at No Name, we're going to go through the left-hander and then hit the curb and spin right round and lose my front wing for good measure. So unfortunately, we're very much on the back foot into this qualifying session. We've had 2 attempts now, and we've actually spun out at the same corner, which means I've got one more attempt to get this right, and I've got 1 lap to really pull something out of the bag. So here we go then, as we make our way up now in towards La Source here, breaking out the 100-meter board, and we just about hit the apex in there. Probably could have turned in a little bit earlier, but it doesn't really compromise us, and we get a nice run out of La Source, and we're going to make our way now up towards Eau Rouge and Rayon. Let's see how we can take this absolutely flat out. Lovely run through there, nice and clean and tidy, and we're about a 1/10.5 up on our previous best lap time. Of course, that would have been my very first lap, because I actually completed that obviously to try and start my second lap. 2/10 up now as we go into the first sector, and now we're just climbing the curbs here through Le Com and getting that absolutely spot on. Lovely drive through there. The back end was a little bit skatey through there, but we're half a second up now on our best lap time, and now we're coming to the section of the track which has cost me twice now on this occasion, but this time around we get it spot on. And at this point now, we're very much in the unknown in terms of how we are in terms of our overall performance versus our previous laps. As we go through Pouhon, quick downshift from 8th to 7th, but we get there through nice and cleanly, because we don't have an actual representative lap time to work on. As we go through this chicane now, a little bit scruffy through there, just broke a little bit too late through the first part of the chicane, cost me through there, and then didn't allow me to set up the second part just as well. But through the Stavelo corners, again, nice and tidy as we now just look about, just getting a lap on the board now as we make our way down the straight now. It is flat out through here. We've gone ahead and put a setup on for straight line speed only, really. I'm not really caring about the corners because this car comes with a decent amount of cornering speed anyway. As we make our way now down in towards the final chicane here, breaking into second gear now, and then moving ourselves towards the end of the lap here. Quick run up to the line. Where's this going to put us? That puts us into P4. Alright then, so here we are on the grid for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix, and as you can see, it's going to be a one-stop strategy. It is it's the medium to the hard compound tyres. That's all we got to do really, but here we are then on the second row of the grid. The 5 lights go out and they're off, and we are underway for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's some wheel spin off the line there, not getting us the best launch, and we've automatically been overtaken by 3 drivers, but we go super deep there into that source now. We're on the outside here of one of the Porsche cars. Unfortunately, I think we made contact there with Lando Norris, which was a little bit accidental, but I was just trying to make sure that I went in a little bit deep. They're 3 wide above us though, into towards Rouge and Radion, and we're going to take full advantage of that. Sam there compromised massively from the 3 wide run up Eau Rouge. Now all of a sudden we're on the side by side here with our championship rival Lewis Hamilton, who goes to the outside of Lecombe, and unfortunately for me, I couldn't send it up the inside of Hamilton into Lecombe because Piastri, who starts this race on pole, still leads the Belgian Grand Prix for the newly upgraded Ferrari, but Hamilton is swarming all over the back of him now. As we go into the heart of the middle sector here, Hamilton tries to find a way through. We're going to play the patient game here. I'm going to let Hamilton go all out on Piastri, and if he does pass him, then I'm going to have to pass Piastri, and then I'll go after Hamilton myself. But as you can see now, making our way into the middle sector now through Pouon, you can see here not flat out, down into 7th gear, and then making our way through. But straight away, it's a great start for ourselves. We're up in position from where we initially started, despite the fact we had a horrible start to the Grand Prix. And you can see now Hamilton back in sliding a little bit for him through and towards the chicane. But the crucial phase now of this Grand Prix, especially for someone like myself that's not played this F1 22 game in about 2 months or so, is to really get a feel of the car in race conditions. Obviously, I've done a few laps in terms of qualifying, and I also did 1 or 2 laps quickly in separate practices, mostly obviously to test out the AIs, as I made a couple of modifications to some of them, but also just to get a feel of what the game is like again. But I haven't done any couple of laps at all in full race trim, so we just need to sort of bet ourselves in a little bit. I'm not going to go gung-ho and try and blast out everything possible, because I don't quite have the knowledge just as of yet. As the race goes on, as the laps start ticking by, we'll be able to understand more about what this car has got to offer me and where I can go and attack throughout the course of this race. And we make our way now up Rouge for the second time, and Radion now down onto the Camel Straight here. Hamilton's got a good run here on Oscar Piastri. Piastri may have to go defensive in towards Lecombe. Hamilton gaining in the slipstream, getting closer. Clearly using some of his battery here. Now in towards Lecombe. Here goes Lewis Hamilton around the outside of Oscar Piastri into the inside now. He makes the move. We're going to try and cut through. Get a switch back on there. We're desperately now trying to see if we can sneak our way through. Hamilton goes to the inside just like he did on the first lap here. But once again, Piastri defending very nicely now. And they go in towards No Name. Can Piastri stay in front of Hamilton? It's going to be so close between the pair of them. So close, in fact, that we nearly went into the back of them there. And here comes Reese now in the Porsche as we're trying to get into that. There's a little bit of contact between myself and Reese in the background there as Hamilton and Piastri fights away. We went wide there through Pouon. We maintained P3, but that was very close there as both Hamilton and Piastri slowed each other up so much that nearly invited us to have a go as the back end slides there through the exit of the chicane. Got to be careful of that. Of course, I've trimmed off a lot of downforce here in order to try and cope with the straight line speed of this circuit, because of course our car is not very good in a straight, in the corners, or straight line actually, it is straight line, I got that completely wrong. The straight line speed of our car, as we saw at the Italian Grand Prix, was a big old weakness as we're getting a great run here on Lewis Hamilton. Will challenge him in towards the fast stop chicane here, but Hamilton breaks so deep there that he goes to the inside of Piastri. I broke so deep that I nearly went, well, away from the actual circuit, but we're back on track now, and as you can see here, Hamilton and Piastri are going for it in towards last source. We're going to try and have a little look here, but we've gone in too deep, way too deep into last source, and Reese says thank you very much for all of that. I'll have that place. And now all of a sudden Sam is trying to battle onto us now, but as you can see here, I'm back on board with Piastri and Hamilton trying to find the best camera angle for the pair of them as they go side by side through Eau Rouge and Radion. Now onto the Camel Straight. DRS will be enabled here. Who's got it though? It is Piastri that's got the DRS here. That's going to leave Hamilton a sitting duck here as myself and Reese blast through now down onto the straight and diving in towards Lecombe. I'm going to have that inside line, make my way past Reese, past Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton also gets his way back past Reese, so despite the fact that he didn't have any DRS, Reese desperately though, as you can see in the background, they're trying to find a way past Hamilton, but he's got to watch out because Sam there is looking for a move down the inside, but it's not going to happen for him on that occasion. But thanks to all the action, though, we haven't actually looked at how the start went on. So, as you can see from my perspective, I lost out to Reese instantaneously at the start. This is what I wanted to try and do. You can see that tiny little nudge that myself and Norris had there. What I wanted to do, basically, because I lost out to Reese and Norris was there, and there was a little bit of a gap that I could go through, I purposely outbroke myself in order to basically go wide into last source. Let everybody fight on that inside line. Tidy up my exit, and then take that all the way down towards Lecombe with me, which you do. He's on board with Hamilton now. Now, Piastri actually gets a better start than Lewis Hamilton. Covers him off nicely, but what Piastri gets caught out by is exactly what I tried to do with the other two drivers behind me, is take that outside line, which Hamilton did, and then try and get the better run here. This got really tight there. Contact made, though, between Piastri and also Lewis Hamilton, and Sam was the man, though, that got the best start out of everybody. Here is his start perspective, though. Straight away, he goes towards the inside line. They do that funny thing, the AIs around here, but he dives straight up the inside. He sees that gap, he's gone for it, and he's done a very good job of doing so. But now, all of a sudden, his exit is slightly compromised versus Hamilton. Piastri's exit wasn't that good anyway, but as they make their way up towards Eau Rouge now and Ranion, this is where it gets ropey for them, because they all get a little bit tangled together. Make a bit of contact, it just throws Sam completely off to the point where I'm able to sneak back past and get my position. Lap 4 of the Grand Prix now. Oscar Piastri still leads this Grand Prix for Ferrari, but we've been keeping in close proximity with him, and we've got DRS coming up now up the hill towards the end of this straight here. So let's see what we can do versus Oscar Piastri as we open up the DRS now, and with our car tailored to having perfect straight line speed, I didn't even really need to use much straight line speed in terms of the battery, but in order to get that one done, that is a job done on Oscar Piastri. We now lead the Belgian Grand Prix, but Hamilton and Reese are close behind. They're just a couple of tenths shy of getting that DRS, but as you can see now, further back here, this is Sam under pressure from Carlos Sainz in the second Porsche car, making their way down into the bus stop chicane now. This is going to compromise their race slightly here if these two keep battling the way, because straight ahead there is Norris and then also Reese and Hamilton, but both of them have got DRS here down the pit straight, so it's going to be whoever's got the best straight line speed, and it looked like Carlos Sainz had a bit more straight line speed to his ability there as they make their way in towards that source and exit now down the straight, and you can quite clearly see where this is ending up. They're going to go side by side. So too is Hamilton and also Reese, so they're giving a little bit of a scrap going on as well now, as we can see the great run there through Eau Rouge and Ranion. It just about favours Sam, but unfortunately none of these two drivers have got DRS. One man that does is Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault, and he passes the pair of them. And also Sainz there goes around the outside of Lecombe on Sam. Sainz did have better straight line speed than what Sam had, but Sam is much more confident in the cornering and gets the place back. But unfortunately, the both of them have actually just lost the position. So yeah, that's a little bit awkward. But further ahead though, Reese has actually overtaken Hamilton. So too is Lando Norris. And Norris now trying to find his way past Reese and see if he can try and get involved in the action here. They're going to go side by side through Pouhon though. Who's going to come out on top in this battle? Reese gets out on top in that one. Hamilton tries to find a way through, and unfortunately for Lewis, things are not going too well for him in this Grand Prix. He's dropping backwards now, and Ricciardo's all over the back of him as Norris now says, thank you very much to that position you've got for me, Reese. I fancy it, and I'm off now. Ta-ra. So, yeah, fair play to Lando Norris. He gets out on back end side a little bit there as he gets on the power. Lap 7 of the Grand Prix. You would have thought by me overtaking Oscar Piastri that I'd be off wincing into the distance. Well, no. Piastri has said, you're not going anywhere, and he's coming back for some more then. DRS now enabled for the Ferrari driver, and straight away I knew full well that Piastri had turned up the motor to try and get this job done. So I've had to do the same thing now, going in towards Lecombe, but we're going to go side by side here through the chicane section. We just about come on top here, and we stay in front of Piastri, who unfortunately, goes super wide there. Does Oscar Piastri really pushing hard, but that's a crucial error though for Oscar Piastri, because that's just given me a little bit of breathing space now to work with, and hopefully I can use that and try and pull away, because unfortunately for me the problem I've got is that my cornering is weak, as here comes Hamilton for a move on Daniel Ricciardo. Job done for him. My cornering is weak, like I've said multiple times in this video now. My straight line speed is my strongest asset. The problem is with Oscar Piastri, if he's quicker than me in the corners and then he can match me in the straights with his straight line speed and his DRS, I've got no hope of trying to get anywhere, really. But the crucial thing now is, as we watch Lando Norris here attacking Reese, you would have just seen me there in the foreground going through the Lecombe chicane, and you would have seen Oscar Piastri going through the Lecombe chicane. That mistake from Piastri has actually dropped him out of DRS from myself. I pushed hard on lap 7 of the Grand Prix to try and build a gap after he made the mistake, and it's worked out beautifully. So now I'm in a position where I can start to control the race and just bed myself properly into this circuit. Here is Reese though, still defending from Lando Norris. These two are having a sensational battle here for third place at the moment. As you can see now, Reese gets the inside line through last source, and now they make their way down the straight here, and it's going to be a straight drag now. Who's got the speed then? Is it the Porsche of Reese, or is it the Ferrari of Lando Norris? Of course, as they make their way up the hill now, Reese seems to be a bit more braver through there, but Norris now definitely has a little bit more to try and offer, but unfortunately, he's going to have no more now because Reese has actually got DRS here, and he can fly through, and he's done exactly that, and he continues to be third in this Grand Prix. Further back though, Daniel Ricciardo is doing his best to try and defend against Lewis Hamilton, and he does so actually, so fair play to him. Lap 10 of the Grand Prix now, and it's time for us to make our first stop of the Grand Prix. You can see just behind me there that despite the fact that I dropped out of DRS range, or I dropped ahead of DRS range of Oscar Piastri, he's actually doing a really good job of keeping up with me. The gap was around about 1.5 to 2 seconds for pretty much the entirety of the stint, so credit where it's due. We've done a good job of trying to stay in front of him. We've also done a great job at managing the gap there, because as you can see, our pit lane is a dangerous one, because being number one in the garage is not a good thing, especially when all these cars are coming into the pits here, and I thought I needed to pull a bit more out. So actually on that final straight, heading towards the bus stop chicane, I actually dumped my entire battery to try and build up a little bit more of a margin. And if I didn't do that, I probably would have lost out to Norris. Maybe not so to the rest of the drivers, because they were a little bit further back, but crucial that we did that. Unfortunately for Piastri, as you can see, he's now coming out of the pits right there, and he's actually been held up in the pits, and plus the undercut that we've done on him, we've actually pulled away quite considerably from him in this Grand Prix. But meanwhile, these two have only just come out of the pits here, but Reese and Norris are going back for some seconds here between each other now, and as you can see, Reese goes back up into third place in this Grand Prix, and now all of a sudden we're back on board with them again, because at some point, I've missed it, Norris has overtaken Reese. Reese though is trying to come and fight him again in towards the bus stop chicane now. Reese is really giving it everything here to try and attack these two Ferraris, but crucially now, all of a sudden, Piastri is in a little bit of a threat here, because Norris has got DRS, as you can still see in the pit straight there. So too did Reese, meaning that they're actually, despite all this squabbling, they're starting to reel Piastri in this Grand Prix. There's me going up the Eau Rouge Hill. I'm sort of in a little bit of a comfortable position right now, but unfortunately for Piastri, just needs to watch out, because they're doing it here on this straight. You'll watch now, Reese is going to have got the DRS. He's going to go for the move now here on Lando Norris. Norris will try to defend this here, but Reese has got enough in hand that as they get towards the chicane here, it gets a little bit compromised on this occasion as they try and battle it out. Although you see the amount of work that Norris is having to do on the steering wheel there, but that's quite a bad example. This will probably be a better one now. Lap 16 of the Grand Prix. Here they go now on the straight. Here comes Reese to try and defend the position. Norris is not having any of that. He goes to the inside line here. Straight away, it's a clean move, and he's gained himself by, you can see there, a couple of tenths. Further back though, it's a three-wide moment now going in towards Lecom. We've got Carlos Sainz in the Porsche, Sam in the McLaren, Ricciardo in the Renault, and we've got Hamilton further back there in the other Mercedes car, trying to fight for what is effectively P4 in this Grand Prix. That's what they're all going for in this Grand Prix. Lap 18 of the race here. Reese now is going for yet another attack on Lando Norris. Are you surprised? No, because I'm not either. And as you can see, this is again another clean example. Reese turns up the motor, speeds his way on through, and look at the gap now that he's A, pulled to Lando Norris, but B, he's closed up to Piastri, and Norris is not going to fight him now until the bus stop chicane at the earliest. Daniel Ricciardo though is one man that's going through the bus stop chicane, but he's under pressure from McLaren and Sam now. Round the outside goes the McLaren driver, dives down to the inside line for the second phase of the corner, and now onto the start-finish straight here. It's going to get close between these two drivers as they make their way up towards the first corner, but Sam now gets P4 in this Grand Prix, but that's probably not the wisest thing to do. And I think Daniel Ricciardo is probably licking his lips right now thinking, well, you may have just overtaken me in towards turn 1, but we've now got a very long straight coming up with another massive DRS zone, and you've not got it. Guess what? I do. So here we go then on the straight. We're on board with Lewis Hamilton here now as he opens up the DRS, but now as you can see here, back on board with Ricciardo as he tries to switch one way, switches the other way now, and in towards Lecom. Job done. And that's exactly what Ricciardo will do every single time as we see Sergio Perez and George Russell going for a little bit of a scrap here for the tail end of the points. Russell stays ahead. Lap 20 of 22 in this Grand Prix, and all of a sudden, I told you that Piastri was being reeled in by Reese and Norris. It's so much so that Reese opens up his DRS and gets past Oscar Piastri, going in towards Lecom. Oscar Piastri loses out onto second place, and with just 2 laps to go now, all of a sudden here, Piastri's not even looking at a podium, because here comes Norris now with the DRS down the straight, but so too does Oscar Piastri. But crucially, Norris has got the slipstream from Reese ahead, but as they go in towards the Lecom chicane now, Norris Norris goes a little bit wide. Now Piastri is trying to battle through into this. This is going to get really close and tight and personal between the two Ferrari drivers, and it's Piastri who's trying to come out on top, but Norris switches to try and take the inside line into the next corner now, into the heart of the middle sector. These two are really going for it. They're neck and neck with each other, not only on the circuit, but in the Drivers' Championship as well. They're really close. I think they're only a couple of points, actually, away from each other. I think Norris just about is in front of Piastri in the Championship, but now down into the bus stop chicane here, it gets even tighter now, because they're still scrapping away here. Who's got the DRS, though? Down on this straight, it's going to be Norris that's got it. Norris now gets up into a podium spot, but that's the wrong thing to do, because in towards the first corner now, congratulations, you've just taken third place away from your teammate, but now your teammate has got the run and the DRS from the top of the Eau Rouge and the Kemmel Straight, that's the word I'm looking for, all the way down to the Lecombe chicane. So all of a sudden now, you think you've got it, but you won't for much longer, because look at the gap now between the pair of them, and all of a sudden, with the battery and the motor turned up, Piastri switches one way, switches the second way now, down the straight in towards the Lecombe chicane. Oscar Piastri moves back up into third place in the Belgian Grand Prix, and that is game, set, match, and it's also game, set, match for us. As you can see here, it was a clean and comfortable second stint from us here, and as you can see, we're trying to go for a fastest lap attempt here. We've currently gone personal best first sector, personal best in the middle sector. I'm now literally dumping every last juice that I've got from this battery to try and set the fastest lap now, but we go through the final chicane here. We actually get the braking completely wrong, but we kick back this F1 Journey season with victory here at the Belgian Grand Prix. It is job done, and a very, very handsome result for us here today, and that is exactly what we needed. And as you can see then, here is the full race classification for you guys on the screen. We managed to win the Belgian Grand Prix, and overall, it was a very comfortable performance from ourselves. The crucial thing in that Grand Prix for myself was the DRS. As soon as Oscar Piastri lost that DRS after he made that one attempt to pass me, it was game over. There was a couple of occasions, and you know, from lap 4 onwards till that crucial moment at lap 7, the key moment in the race for me, Oscar Piastri was in my DRS. He was constantly in it, but what he wasn't doing was turning up the motor. And then on lap 7, I knew straight away when I was going up the hill, he's turned up the motor. And then we obviously had the battle. You lost out, and that was it. As soon as I had that clearance, I was fine, because I was losing a little bit in the corners, but crucially on the straight from the exit of the second Stavelo corner all the way down to the bus stop chicane, there's no DRS there, and I was quicker in a straight line, so I could build myself out of DRS. So then I've got the pit straight and then that long straight all the way from La Source to the end of to the Kemmel Straight. I was able to just pull clear, and that's crucially how my race went on. Reese finishes second though for Porsche. In the end, he only actually finished 3.6 seconds behind me, so I wonder if Reese wasn't tucked up in a battle with the two Ferraris, could he potentially put a challenge towards me? Because I'll be honest with you, when he actually passed the two Ferraris and then the two Ferraris started grappling with each other, Reese was quicker than me. That's true. So yeah, a bit of a disappointing one for him. The two Ferraris get third and fourth. It's a good result for Ferrari in the end though, actually. 5.5 and 5.8 seconds off the lead, respectively. Sam crosses the line to finish fifth for McLaren. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, a very poor race from him after starting on the front row. Just got caught out, probably with the pit stops, with the battling that didn't go his way. Yeah, it just wasn't a good race for him. He actually nearly caught Sam at the end. Both Sam and Hamilton managed to pass Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz, and then they actually got close to each other. Lewis Hamilton did get the fastest lap though, so in terms of the championship, which we'll see later on in terms of the drivers, he has managed to at least get a point back in his favour. He actually got a quicker lap than me in the end. Annoyingly, it was by 0.6 of a second, but there we go. Sainz finishes in 7th ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Literally a photo finish for them two going across the line. And then we've got George Russell that did manage to hold off Sergio Perez in the end to pick up P9. Perez in the end has to settle for P10 for Red Bull. Looking at the second half of the table now, Callum Ilott just about missed out on a point for the second Jaguar driver. Bad race for Audi. Charles Leclerc finishes in P12 with his teammate Bottas in P14. Split in the middle of those was Nick de Vries in the BMW. Good result for him. Colton Herta finishes in 15th for Aston Martin, with Mason Wood finishing in P16 again, struggling to beat his teammate Nick de Vries. A poor race for two drivers in a row here. Stoffel Van Dorn finishing 27.4 seconds off the lead. And then Pato O'Ward all the way down in 18th place for the second McLaren. Not sure at all what's happened with him. Pierre Gasly finishes in 19th place for Renault. I think he picked up some damage at the start because everyone else is just under half a minute off the race lead. But Gasly is 42.5 seconds off the lead. And Theo Porcher was the only man DNF from this Grand Prix. But one thing to take from this Grand Prix is it was actually really close. Considering we did a 22 lap race, which is obviously 50% race distance, around the longest circuit on the calendar, the gap between myself, the race winner, and say Pato O'Ward down in P18 was less than 30 seconds, which is actually quite close. And as we know what the fastest lap point is for. Taking a look then at the Drivers' Championship to see how that has changed. Well, myself and Lewis Hamilton were level on points going into this race. I've now got a 16-point gap over Lewis Hamilton heading into the final 3 rounds of the season. Reese is currently 3rd in the championship with 167 points. He is 38 points off the championship lead. Sam remains 4th in the championship on 150 points. He's 55 points off the championship leader myself. Crucially now for Sam, heading into the next round, which is the Mexican Grand Prix, you can see at the bottom of your screens, if Sam fails to outscore me by more than 5 points, he will no longer be able to compete for this championship. As things stand, there are only 4 drivers mathematically left in the championship fight. It is myself, Hamilton, Reese and Sam. Carlos Sainz is 5th in the championship with 113 points, sitting kind of comfortable in there, not really under pressure too much from behind, but also not really close enough to Sam as of yet. And then, as I was talking about during the race itself, the 2 Ferraris nice and close to each other. Lando Norris on 95 points, Piastri on 92 points. They are both 110 and 113 points back off the championship lead. Stoffel Van Dorn is 8th in the championship for Red Bull on 57 points. Ricciardo closes that gap though to just 1 point between the pair of them. He's on 56 points, and Charles Leclerc didn't score either, but he is on 50 points. And as I said, the next race is the Mexican Grand Prix. Taking a look at the Constructors' Championship now, as you can see, our team Mercedes still at the front with 395 points. I should probably do the maths and find out if we're mathematically Constructors' Champions or not. I think we are, but I can't remember. So we'll get onto that at the next round and try and figure that out. Porsche are still comfortable in 2nd in the championship, 278 points to their name. McLaren sit 3rd in the championship, 194 points, but crucially, thanks to Piastri, thanks to Pato O'Ward not scoring any points, and Sam only getting P5, with the 2 Ferraris finishing in front of Sam, that gap between the 2 of them has closed significantly. It's now just 7 points between McLaren and Ferrari in that race for 3rd in the championship. Red Bull sit on 5th in the championship and have managed to reach the 100-point mark, so fair play to Red Bull for achieving that. Audi are 6th in the championship on 63 points, getting closed down again by Renault, who are on 58 points. Jaguar are on 32 points in the championship, sitting in 8th. BMW remain 9th in the championship with 5 points ahead of Aston Martin, who are on 5 points in the championship. But that is the Belgian Grand Prix done and dusted. That's the European leg as well of Season 10 of the F1 Journey, all done and dusted. It's all we've got left is for the American and Mexican and Brazilian leg left to go. And we are done with this season. But let's go and have a look at the post-race notebook and see how some of the teams and drivers responded to this race. Taking a look at the post-race notebook, Tom wins again at the Belgian Grand Prix. He managed to start from 4th on the grid and fight his way up to win the Grand Prix by 3.5 seconds, with Reese in the Porsche coming across the line to finish in P2, as Piastri just about beat his teammate Lando Norris to P3. Now, Lewis Hamilton says that he lost out due to battles that he was stuck in throughout the course of the race. Lewis Hamilton started the Grand Prix on the front row of the grid and was battling at the front with Tom and Piastri early on, but unfortunately got caught in multiple battles and it just dropped him further down the order, with the rest of the field just pulling away ahead as they lost DRS to the drivers in front. Speaking of DRS, Tom believed that this was the crucial moment when he felt comfortable in the Grand Prix. It was when Piastri tried to make a move on him and he lost out to his DRS. At that point, Tom then knew that his straight line speed was enough, that he could use that to pull away in the 2 sectors that he was quicker and sacrifice that middle sector where he lost all of his time in all of that. And then last but certainly not least, we move on to Piastri, who felt like he actually probably could have got second in this Grand Prix had he not had his pit stop problem. Oscar Piastri was only 2 seconds behind Tom when they came through towards the pits, but Piastri lost at least 2 seconds during that undercut / pit stop window where he also got held up. Apart from that, he says he was satisfied with his Grand Prix and Ferrari's performance. But that is it, guys, for the F1 Journey Season number 10 Belgian Grand Prix. If you guys did enjoy the episode, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well, and I will catch you guys next time for the Mexican Grand Prix. I'm out of here. Take care all. Peace.